You know what's taking over Florida? New Yorkers. Can I sample, please?
Sure, you can take this.
Sure.
Enjoy, sir.
Oh, crap.
Oh, you can take this one too.
I'll take the whole thing.
Enjoy. Have a wonderful evening. Whenever you want to go.
Yeah. It's alright. The things you find out while walking in downtown Naples. I found out that cauliflower base is taking over the New York pizza scene. You know what I found out? That New Yorkers are taking over the Florida scene. Let's talk about it. Today we're going to talk about snowbirds, and we're going to talk about tourism. I'm going to give you guys my personal opinion about snowbirding and tourism in Florida. Of course, my opinion is going to be very strange to you, very unconventional. I'm not a conventional thinker, so my opinion sometimes can be a little wacky. That's why you guys listen to my channel. Because you think I'm crazy. Actually, you shouldn't think I'm crazy. You should know it by now. I'll give you guys my opinion about tourism and snowbirding here in Florida. And we're going to start off by reading a comment that we had earlier on the channel. This seems to be on the mind of our subscribers. Therefore, it's a really good conversation piece. So, earlier today, I coined the term SNOWTERD. And somebody said, those snow turds pay my bills. And somebody else replies, Florida would hemorrhage financially without them, referring to snow turds. Yes, that's the general consensus of people in Florida, is that without tourism, our state would really be in bad shape. Of course, my opinion, I don't agree with that. And we don't have to agree. My opinion doesn't change the world, guys. So if you don't agree with what I have to say, you don't have to. That's the beautiful thing, is that you don't have to. It's just nice that we can have a conversation and just talk about these topics and express our opinion. So here's my opinion. Back in 2007, when there was less people in Florida, you could rent a house for about $700 a month. You would make $10 an hour. Today in Florida, 2020, you could rent a house for $2,500 a month. But you know what the problem is? You're still getting paid $10 an hour. The housing has tremendously increased in Florida. What hasn't increased is the salaries. The reason the housing has increased is because the local buyers, us Floridians, are competing with retirees from other states where the cost of living is higher, therefore their net worth is much larger because housing is more expensive, jobs pay more, and now the local Floridian, who was let's say a waitress or a bartender, today has to come up with $2,500 for rent here in South Florida. And in 2007, they would make the same, because I remember what I made in 2007, and my sister worked at a restaurant. I know what she made back then. And you're making about the same as you would. You're paying twice as much for housing. And that's a national trend. That's not just a Florida thing. But here in Florida, to give you guys an idea, in the city of Spring Hill, Florida, you could buy a house for $70,000 some years back. That house is now worth $200,000, and the reason why is because there's more people now in that area. New Yorkers found out about Spring Hill and the affordability, and now it's little New York over there. And nothing against New Yorkers. I help a lot of New Yorkers on this channel. Actually, this channel is about helping people move to Florida now. Not what I initially intended, but if that's what it became, what are we going to do? I mean, it is what it is. At least I'd rather educate people about what they're going to do. Florida's income versus housing ratio is very unhealthy. Experts say that it should be about 30 or 35% of your income. And for most people that I know in Florida, it's pushing over 66% of their income is going to housing expenses. And let's move one state over to Alabama. Other than the fact that they have a state income tax, salaries in Alabama are about the same as Florida. I believe it or not, the state of Nebraska has a higher income than Florida. It's in the middle of the country. There's nothing out there. Why would Would Nebraska pay better than Florida? It's a great question. I mean, we have beaches, we have tourism. Well, you can buy a house in Nebraska for $70,000, $100,000, $120,000. The same thing goes for Texas. You can get a house in Texas for $95,000. That house would be $500,000 here in Florida. Nobody vacations in those places. Nobody snowbirds in those places. Therefore, their housing is affordable. If that doesn't illustrate my point of view, I don't know what will. Of course, Florida's not New York. It's not California. But it's definitely not Nebraska either. I mean, we're way above that. We should be above Nebraska when it comes to income. It blows my mind that when I'm doing a lot of research now for this channel, because I have to research everything that I say, and some of these statistics that I find are just mind-boggling. It's just some things don't make sense, and tourism benefits small areas for small periods of the year. Your bills are not for a small period of the year. Yes, you make a lot of money now in the winter when there's a bunch of snowbirds or tourists, but those bills are not only in the winter. You are actually having bills around the year. So only hotels and restaurants really greatly benefit from snowbirds and businesses like that. I don't own a restaurant. I don't own a hotel. So that doesn't really affect me. And if you do work for a hotel or a restaurant, let me tell you that I've worked for restaurants and my wife has worked for hotels. And this is absolutely the most dangerous and most miserable lines of work that you can do. In restaurants, the work environment is hostile, degrading, offensive. If you're a server, sometimes the waitress is up to them how much of the tips they're going to give you, and sometimes they won't give you much. They cheat you out of your portion, basically, because it's up to them. I've worked in restaurants in Florida, and I know how it goes. The women are sexually harassed, and the males can be aggressive. I've worked in restaurants, many restaurants here in Naples, and I can say that these work environments are extremely horrible, and my wife has worked in hotels, another horrible, horrible line of work. You're constantly dealing with prostitutioning. You're constantly dealing with just horrible work environments. So these two lines of work that tourism creates in Florida predominantly are not the types of works that I want to do. They're horrible lines of work. They're lines of work. Actually, I told my wife to quit her job because her job, I just felt that it was unsafe. She would tell me the stories and the things that went down every day, and I look at the news and say, wow, these things are really happening. You got to get out of this job. And so the jobs that tourism creates in Florida are not exactly the types of jobs that you really want to do. If you just cross the line over into Georgia or Alabama, their income to rent or housing ratio is much more healthier than Florida's. They're making a little bit less. They're making 5 or 6%, 10% less. However, they're paying 70%, 50% less for housing. And now vacation rentals are making the situation even worse. I mean, it was worse before these vacation rentals. There's a lot of things in the environment now that weren't here many years ago. We have Uber, Lyft, vacation rentals. And these vacation rentals are pretty much not. Let me explain to you. If you have a property in South Florida, Naples Park, Fort Myers Beach, it doesn't make sense to rent it to somebody year-round. You can get $30,000 or $40,000 for renting it out during the winter to snowbirds. Some of these properties go from $7,000 to $14,000 a month. So now these vacation rentals have become, for real estate, people who own real estate, it's much more profitable. It's a lot less stressful. All they have to do is rent the property 3 or 4 months of the year to some snowbirds, and they're going to make more on that. And there's so much people wanting to come down here. Fort Myers Beach, I called every last single one of these vacation rentals in town, and every last one of them was filled up, which means that the demand for housing is no longer even relevant to what the Floridian can afford. It's relevant to what somebody from another state wants to vacation. And when it comes to vacation, people don't go stingy. People are stingy about how they live, but they're not stingy about when they're going to do their vacations. And it's a lot of people coming to Florida from other states with a lot of money. So now the situation for housing is actually worse, because now even the rental properties are not available to full-time residents. It's people who own real estate don't want to deal with full-time residents. They don't want to rent out the house because you're using it the entire year. You're damaging stuff more. You're using it more. You're wearing down the tile more. You're walking more. You're farting more. You're breathing more. So now, with these vacation rental deals, it's even worse for the Floridian. I believe that's going to become almost impossible to rent in Southwest Florida when everybody catches on to this idea and it's caught on. You cannot rent a house in Fort Myers Beach for a reasonable price. You're not going to find it because of this vacation rental trend that is making the housing in Florida. It's going to become a huge problem. It's not going to be a problem for the Southeast Florida because we've kept it hood enough to where most people are afraid of that area. But here in the Southwest Florida region, where they think it's paradise, whether it is or not, and it's not paradise anymore. It used to be. You would never see a homeless person here in Naples. I've seen 3 homeless people today, and one of them is a female, and it breaks my heart every time I see her. And I wonder, a lot of times when people are in financial crisis, it's because they've done some stupid things in their life that have led them to homelessness, drug addiction. But when I see a woman on the street, it just breaks my heart because the first thing that comes to my mind is somebody's going to try to victimize that woman. And the other thing that comes to mind is, wow, we live in one of the wealthiest places, as far as, being wealthy people. There's a lot of wealthy people here. Yet, there's homeless people. And there's homeless people that are vulnerable. I feel different about woman and man being homeless for a lot of different reasons. Anyways, it just blows my mind that a woman can be homeless in a town where there's so much wealth. I mean, if I had a business, like a big business, I would say, hey, here's a job and here's a week or 2 in a hotel. Get your crap together or something. I don't know. It's just something to think about. Anyways, there's a lot. We talk about traffic. It makes life miserable. You spend more money on gas. You spend more time on the road. That's all very true. Your commutes are longer. Also, communities that have a lot of tourism, that are based off tourism, absolutely have higher crime rates than communities that don't. For 2020, according to one of the statistics that I was looking at, Daytona Beach and Miami Beach, which are 2 of the biggest tourist destinations in Florida, their crime rates are significantly higher than all other Florida destinations, including urban areas like Miami and Jacksonville. All you have to do is cross the line over to Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and that's exactly what Florida would be like if there wasn't tourism. And then people come to the question, well, there wouldn't be an economy. People would move away. Exactly. There wouldn't be people here. Of course there wouldn't. That's people won't make enough money. They'll go somewhere else. And that's perfectly fine with me. It doesn't bother me or affect me in any way. In fact, that's exactly what happens when a place doesn't have an economy. People move away. Of course, my opinion isn't going to make a difference. People will not stop coming to Florida, and nothing that we say or do will stop it. This is unstoppable. But the notion that people have when they're waitresses and they're bartenders, that there's a need for Florida to have tourism, I strongly disagree. In fact, back to my 2007 equation, you're getting paid exactly what you were getting paid in 2007, but now your housing is worth twice as much. Why is your housing worth twice as much? Because there's more buyers from an outside source that are taking up all the real estate. So now you have to make more money and work more hours for the same rate for the same apartment that wasn't worth that much before there's all these people here in Florida. It just doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be, if you're a waitress or if you're a bartender, you shouldn't be sinking tourism, because I go to parts of Florida and Alabama that are very poor and very rural, and the waitresses there own their houses. live in decent houses. Most waitresses and bartenders that I know here in Naples live in efficiencies. If you're not familiar with that term, that is a garage. You know, they'll turn the garage, a little tiny bathroom, and that's 300 square feet, and that's an efficiency. And I know somebody right now for an efficiency that's just under 300 square feet, and they're paying 380 square foot, maybe something less than 400 for sure, $900 a month to live behind somebody's garage or something like that. You wouldn't be in that situation because in Alabama, you can rent a house for $550. The fact I'm part of Georgia, I'm not going to say the name of the town, but I'm in a Facebook group. I'm in a Facebook group for a small town in Georgia, right on the Florida border. Not a small town, it's a medium-sized town, and it doesn't have crime. I've been there. It's a nice place. There's industry just like anywhere else, and you're about an hour and 30 minutes from the beaches in Florida, something like that roughly. And somebody posted up a house that would rent for $1,650 here in Florida, in this part of Florida, and they're renting it for $650. And people go in the comment section. They're saying, "Hey, buddy, $650 is a little bit high for that. I think it's worth about $550." So, as far as I'm concerned, I went to restaurants up there, and they have bartending jobs just like they do here. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. I don't understand how people think the Florida needs this, tourism needs this. You don't, because what you're gaining by there being more liquid money moving in the marketplace, more volume of money, is actually they have more money than you. Like, the money is not on the side of the Floridians anymore. It's on the side of the buyers that are coming from New York, coming from Massachusetts. They have more money. They have stronger economies up there. Housing is more expensive. They have a lot more than we do. So now they have the power of acquisition. And that's something that poor people just don't understand. And even if you explain it to poor people, they don't grasp the meaning of it. I'll give you guys an illustration to see if you can understand this a little bit better. I'm from Cuba. And in Cuba, our government there hasn't been overthrown in 60 years. They've had dictatorship. And now there's other presidents. They're really just puppets of the same exact people. It's the same government. It hasn't been overthrown in 60 years. Something like that. I've lost track already. Well, in Cuba, the government will never be overthrown. Do you guys know why it won't be overthrown? I actually know somebody, my uncle, my dad's uncle is buried in Miami, was the last democratically elected president. He's buried in South Miami. You can look it up. There's a cemetery in South Miami. Last name is Socarrás. P-O-P-I-O, Socarrás. My dad's name is Socarrás. And he was a family member of my dad. It's a small family. And he was the last democratically elected president to serve Cuba. From there on, it was Batista and then Castro dictatorships. So my family from my dad's side is pretty influential as far as knowing how things work over there. Also, I'm a Castro. I'm an Ochoa. My name is Jose Rodriguez Ochoa, and Ochoas are really Castros. Most Ochoas have dropped the Castro, but I'm really a Castro. So I have it on both sides of my family. So I have family members, and I kind of know how this stuff works. My uncle wrote a book, and I'll tell you guys the name of the book here. Anatomy of a Voyage to Freedom. You can look this up on Kindle. You can buy it for $8. Anatomy of a Voyage to Freedom. He's my uncle. It says here, Caleb Vega was forced to escape from Cuba in 2007. He tells his harrowing tale, chapter by chapter, explaining why he had to leave or face being imprisoned. He recounts a lot of the steps. It's a great book. If I remember, I'll put the link on here so you guys can see it. And my uncle basically knows how all this stuff works. And here's why Cuban government doesn't get overthrown. Basically, if you're a police officer or a general, you have food for your household. You have what you need. Most people in Cuba don't have it. They struggle. But the people who are in power, generals, judges, police officers, and that sort of people, they have their daily bread. They have food, and they live really well. So those people in power are not going to give up their comfortable position to make sure that justice is served for the 99% of the population who doesn't have those things. In other words, all you need to control poor people is to have, and in Cuba we say, a piece of bread or a spoon with a little bit of rice. That is how you control the poor people. By a little bit of food, that's all it takes to control poor people. If you feed a poor person, they're basically a slave to you. And that's what poor people don't understand when it comes to power of acquisition, is that the rich people are able to acquire much more than you are. Housing, investments, everything that's good, they're able to acquire it, and that takes it away from you. But poor people don't understand that concept because they're content with having a bowl of rice or a piece of bread. And that's just the reason why the Cuban government is never going to be overthrown, is because they control. The people that have the power have food, and the people that don't. And the people that have food are not going to take the food away from their table by standing up in opposition to the government. You're not going to give up a nice little car and a piece of steak to go to a prison or a graveyard because you stood up against a regiment. You have whatever you need. You're okay. You're fine. You're set. And that's what we have here, where we have food, we have a place to live, and that's it. You're set. It's exactly the same thing. It's really the same exact thing, right, people? Right now, guys, I'm trying to put some countertops in my kitchen. I got these beautiful cabinets put in. I painted the walls. The next step now is countertops. I can't find anybody that wants to work for me. All the people that I know that do tile, they want to work in mansions. They want to make $700 or $800 a day. I can't find anybody. I can't afford that right now. I can't do it. I can pay $300 a day or $250 a day. I like to pay people fairly, but I can't compete. I can't get somebody to mow my lawn because they're mowing the rich people's lawns. I can't get a guy to put tile on my house because they're putting tile for the rich people. I can't get countertops put in because all the people who do granite work are working for the millionaires. They don't want to come in here and do a small little 600, 700 square foot house. They want to work a 5,000 square foot house. That's power of acquisition. They have more money, so therefore they have more power. So not only, let's suppose the salary you make in Florida it's never gonna amount to owning a house here. That's not going to happen. So what I advise poor people here to do is to rent an efficiency for $500 or $600. Live in somebody's shed for $600 a month. Make that big income, save that money, and when you have $100,000, move to North Florida, move to Alabama. That's what I tell people. Of course, nobody's gonna do it. They're gonna continue living in a condo with a pool for $18,000, $19,000, $2,000 a month, $2,400 a month. They don't want to make the sacrifice that it takes to get out of poverty, so they always stay in the cycle of poverty. I have made the sacrifices. My life has been tremendously difficult. You guys see that I drive an old truck. Could I go and sign a piece of paper tomorrow? Actually, Friday. I could go Friday and get a brand new Mercedes-Benz. Actually, I can get a Maserati because I can afford it. Like literally, the money flows there. I can do it. I can go and buy a Maserati if I wanted to. But that's not how you acquire wealth. You have to sacrifice. And poor people want to drive the new car, and they want to have the pool, and they want to live in the fancy condo, and that's why they're always going to be poor. Me, I made my sacrifices. I am sitting in a house right now that doesn't have countertops, and I am not going to have them until I can find somebody who does it for an affordable price. And if you live in Southwest Florida, I know you're typing right now. I know a guy. Well, I'll do it for you. It's all good, guys. I'll find somebody. I don't need help with it. But I'm just making it so you guys can kind of understand that even if you're able to acquire real estate here, you still can't be competitive with the rich people. I'm really more comfortable than the average working class person, but I live much more uncomfortable. It's incredible how many people I know that they don't have a net worth and they live completely, like their lifestyles are just incredible. New cars, maybe not even one, maybe like 2 new cars, maybe a boat or a jet ski, and a mortgage they don't own, or they rent, even worse. and they have all these luxuries in their life, and they don't own real estate. They don't have any net worth. They don't have savings. They don't have investments. They don't have businesses, but they got the brand new car. That's your personal thing. If you like doing that, that's up to you. Me, I am sacrificing every inch. I don't like throwing my money away. I'm not big on making a huge income. I'm big on saving every last dollar from Bank of America, AT&T, BMW, Ford, General Motors. They're after your money. They ain't going to get mine. They can get yours. They are not getting mine. So my final point is land use. Rich people use up a lot of land. There's an apartment, not an apartment, it's more like a condo that I can see from my house. It's about 20 stories high. And it's really funny that I look over there, I can see it from my house. It's a high-rise by the beach, and I can see it from my house. And I've never seen more than 20% of the lights on in that building, which means that at least 80% of those buildings are empty. Like those units, about 80% of them are empty. Empty. Guys, here's a 200-unit building, and only 40 units or something are actually turn on their lights. There's only and that's in the winter. That's when they're down here. They're usually empty. So there's a lot of real estate in Florida that it's just vacant. It's not even like there's no real estate. There is real estate. It's vacant. These are second homes for people. Like you go to Alabama, a house on the beach, directly on the beach, is $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. But then a block away, a house is $100,000, a decent livable house. That's what Florida would be, and I'd be cool with that. I'd be great with that. If Florida was affordable, I would have 10 acres, and I'd plant my mangoes. I'd plant bananas. I have a quarter acre in the city, and I have 12 mango trees, 40 banana trees. I had guavas, but I got rid of them because they get little bugs in them. I didn't know that. I planted them, and it was a waste. All right, guys. So that is my explanation of why I think that snowbirding and tourism doesn't really benefit the state of Florida. Of course, my opinion is not going to change anything. I do just hope that you people who have that mindset that we need them and you need to depend on it, that you can just look beyond that to something better, like living in a place or creating a situation for yourself where you have a little bit more control over your future other than hoping people come to Florida. We have hurricanes that can change everything. We just had Hurricane Michael. I had never seen people from Alabama and Texas come to Naples, and recently there are a huge portion of the people coming down to Naples because the damage from Hurricane Michael destroyed the areas where they used to vacation, so now they come over here. So there's no loyalty with vacationers. They're going to go wherever they can. So if your area gets hit by a hurricane, guess what? They're just going to go somewhere else. The red tide did some damage to Southwest Florida's tourism. And now those people that used to go to Naples, where are they going now? They're going to Miami. They're going to other places. And when I travel Florida, I ask them, hey, where do you usually vacation? And they said we usually vacation in Fort Walton Beach. We used to go to Mexico Beach, but now we came over here because of the hurricane, or vice versa. I've met people in Miami. Oh, you live in Naples? We used to go there, but we're coming to Miami now because of the red tide. So there's no loyalty with you can't depend on something it's not guaranteed. It's a let's hope these people come here. Let's hope there isn't a hurricane. Let's hope the red tide gets better. Do I make more money in the winter than in the off season? Yeah, I do make more money this time of year, but I don't care about making 10 or 20% more money. Dude, I care about buying real estate. I'm not worried about that I make $26,000 or $32,000 this year. That doesn't matter to me. I'm worried about, can I buy a house? Can I buy some real estate without somebody from up north outbidding me? That's the type of mindset that I have. I'm trying to find out where I can get some real estate. I'm not worried about that I make $25,000 or $30,000 this year. That's not what I'm into. I don't care about that. I can, if I make $3,000 or $4,000 more a year, that doesn't affect anything. What affects something for me is, can I acquire some real estate? Okay, I like Miami. Love Miami, by the way. I've started going there a lot to make these videos. I like Miami. I like it much more than Naples. There's more money there. There's more wealth. There's more things to do. The people are not exactly nicer, but they are more down to earth. They're definitely not as arrogant. The drivers are more aggressive. I like Miami. I really like Miami. You know what the problem is? I can't afford it. Sometimes I actually had here on this video that I recorded here in downtown Naples, I actually had a girl and she was playing the violin. And she got mad at me because I requested, she was playing classical music, and I requested, hey, do you know this song? And she was like, ugh. You know, like she turned her nose up at me. And she's like, why don't you go to Miami? And I'm like, I wish I couldn't. I wish I could go to Miami. I can't afford to live there. I really, if I could live in Miami, I'm in Naples now. If I could just like grab my property and put it in Miami and like not have to pay more, yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I love to live in Miami. I love the food. I love the culture. I love how everybody's a hustler. They're money makers. They're go-getters. I love Miami. I would be there. If she was like, go to Miami. I'm like, I wish I could. Yes, I really wish I could go to Miami. I can't get property there. But I can go to North Florida, around Ocala, and I can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $100,000. I can't get that here. That is the type of thing that I'm trying to acquire. Those are the type of moves I want to make with my life. So, did somebody tip me $5 or they tip me $7? That doesn't really matter, especially if it's going to a landlord. That's just my personal opinion, guys. Sorry that I cannot relate to wanting tourism, depending on it. I wish Naples would have never changed, would have never turned into what it's turned into, because I don't like it now. I hate it, to be honest. I went for a walk here in downtown Naples. If you're into that, I respect it. If you like elegance, you like refined lifestyles, if that's what you're into, hey, I respect it. We're all different. But I'll be honest with you guys, when I walk these streets of Naples and I see the people and I hear their conversations, you know, off the top, you can just kind of get a glimpse of what they're talking about. I am thoroughly disgusted with this place. I don't fit in here. I would want to be somewhere more down to earth, like Ocala. You know, like where I feel more relatable to normal people. I don't feel relatable to these people here, and it's just really hard on me because I don't know. Like I feel like I'm in a foreign country here. I really do. When I go to like South Georgia, and you go to a barbecue place, and a stranger lets you, hey, you want to sit down with us, and you can sit down with a stranger. And then you have a conversation with them, and you don't really understand what they're talking about, but you know they're looking at you, and they're like, tell you what, man, you stay right there, there. And you're just like, I don't understand what you're saying, but I like it, man. I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need that. I want that, and I want to get out of here. But I'm not going to give away my real estate. I put too much effort into it. So because of the fact the property won't sell because it has to be a cash buyer, blah, 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 blah. We're staying here for a little bit. And we're going to make our moves. We're making moves. A lot of people on the Naples video that got a lot of views, it's up to over 200,000 views already. They assume that I, because of my comments, that I hate wealthy people. Dude, I love wealthy people. That's how I make a living. I go to places like Palm Beach and Miami. There's a lot of wealth there. I like those wealthy people. It's not the money. It's just the attitudes. I don't know how to explain it. Trust me, I want to get out of here. But, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait because I'm not going to give away my property. I'm just not. I'd rather rent it out. I'm going to fix it up a little bit, rent it out. If that's what I got to do, then that's what I got to do. I'm not going to give it away. This is going to have to wait, guys. So, that's my opinion. I don't know, it's kind of weird that I think that way, but that's the way I think. And it's just, I've never heard, like, people who are, like, wealthy. Like, I have a lot of really cool wealthy customers. My wealthy customers that live here in Naples that have really great real estate and businesses, and they hire me and they pay me whatever I want. Really awesome people to work for. They don't like what Naples has become. They feel the same way I do. So it's not really a class warfare type of deal at all. Because all my wealthy customers moved up to Zephyr Hills. They move up to Tampa. They move up to Ocala. They move up to somewhere in North Florida. They get out of here. And they feel the same way that I do. I was just talking to a guy that is, just based off his property, you can tell the guy's got some serious money. And he feels the same way I do. He's like, I'm tired of this place, man. I used to like Naples the way it used to be. I agree with you. So it's not really a class warfare type of thing. It's more of the people here. I don't know. Gets underneath my skin. And I want to get out. Can't really emphasize that enough. I want to get out of here. But we're stuck here. So we'll make the best of it. Make a lot of videos. Make a lot of money. And just keep hoping. Just keep looking forward to the day that I can get out of this place. Because I really don't like the people. Personal thing. Don't have to either. You guys have a beautiful day. And that's the end of this video.